Welcome to Hindsight HacKing. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Poole.
Let's get it started.
On this podcast, we've hacked hundreds of entrepreneurs' hindsight to help you, the listener, with better foresight. Now, guys, if you want to know all about what we can do to help you focus on being you, head over to gethhm.com. Keep pushing through those ups and downs that we all will have.
We're still going to have amazing conversations with amazing people. Hindsight hacking boils down to amazing conversations with some amazing people. Here's experience possesses the creativity, knowledge, and experience, using a wide range of visual and interactive solutions to help clients communicate their values and benefits to target markets. All right, I know that's a mouthful, so we're not going to read everything else, but Dan has, this is a very important thing. His mom ran a show for 30 years, and unfortunately his mom passed, but he took it over. Now he is running that to over 420,000 views. So incredible things going on, or in 420,000 listeners, incredible things going on with KP Media and radio and podcasting and iHeartRadio and all this fun stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Dan, this is great. We go back a little ways, so this is
we do
to actually have you on the show. But before we get too far into it, why don't you take a moment to add a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started off in design. I was a designer for most of my career, actually. And kind of my mother did a radio show, as you mentioned, for probably over 30 years on HJJ. It was the Merv Griffin owned radio show in Rhode Island.
Merv.
I know, Merv Griffin. Yeah, he's now not here anymore. But
correct.
My mother started the show, and I was surrounded by broadcast communications. I met some extraordinary people through my mom, some of which was the likes of like B.B. King. I actually got to meet with him for like 3 hours in his camper before he went on to the Newport Jazz Festival, which was amazing. And just really got to meet extraordinary people through my mom's career. And she left a legacy, actually. She was like the top rated show. Anyway, because of her love for communications, I fell in love with it. It was a natural fit for me. So I've kind of shifted my mindset in my career and really focused on this and move forward. Actually, working with you originally with podcasting. How do we launch your podcast? And moving that forward to actually doing podcasts on steroids, I call it, like on television and streaming audio. And it's been great. Working with Les Brown, actually mentoring with Les Brown, working with Mario Armstrong, and now I'm connected directly with KP Media TV. I'm actually their director of brand management partnership. So it's really exciting.
Nice.
Very, very cool. And I mean, obviously you had some neat things happen through your mother's show and being able to meet some folks. But you also understood the business, right? And that's partially why you've been able to take over her show, which is just so cool. Like, you think of things that you can do to honor a parent, and you think of things that you can do to follow footsteps. And I don't think I've ever heard somebody in that kind of realm that you've followed, like taking over an actual show to continue it on. So, since you've been doing that, what's been some kind of amazing like things that have happened, or just some things that you've even learned after she's since passed?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. I'm just going to harken back to her when her show was. I actually got her on before she was doing digital. She did traditional radio, but I got her in the digital space. She was actually one of the first real audio. Can you believe real audio? That was years and years and shows. And she had Dr. Wayne Dyer on and all these really well-known spiritualists, connected to spiritualists. And I've changed the show up to kind of make it much more broader in terms of having entrepreneurs on, having people that touch people's lives. That was the whole premise behind Discover Your Potential. So we just had David Meltzer on our show, and we had Les Brown, and we had so many extraordinary people thus far. And I've actually gotten requests from people to come on the show. So I've bridged it quite extensively. So before, when she was alive, she was on a digital platform, obviously podcast and streaming audio. And then I just decided, we need to bridge this further for her in her memory. Yeah. So it's been exciting. We're actually doing events too. We've got some exciting events that are coming up locally. Hopefully COVID will be restrained further, because the pandemic has definitely put a damper on those things, but we've got some really exciting things coming up. So that I can't wait to mention.
That's hilarious. It's funny that you said David Metzler and literally got a text from him like 2 seconds ago. No, he's a friend of the show, and it was funny. You said his name and it popped up. I was like, that is the weirdest thing ever.
Oh, there you go.
Here he was listening.
Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal individual. We were blessed to have him on our show, and I was on his show, and it's just he's a great individual and really helps to just. He's not in it for the money. He's in it to help people. And Corey and I are all about, hey, we're going to help whoever, as long as they have a bigger why than just to make money. Because we don't want to surround ourselves with anybody that just wants to make money. Because we all need to make money, but you got to have a bigger why.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really the premise of our show too, is Discover Your Potential, is about touching people's lives. And I think that's why we connected really well with David, because that's what he does. Every Friday, he offers a free coaching. It's amazing. And, with his show Playbook, and he's just such an extraordinary person, taking from, coming and losing everything to bringing everything back at full swing. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, we were in a thing with him that have you seen his thing, his 30-second or his pitch show?
Yeah, I've seen his pitch. Yeah.
So we were on this thing, and all of a sudden it was just like, who wants to pitch? And Corey's like, pitch. I was like, absolutely freaking not. Am I pitching? I'm like not ready to go. It's just not happening, right? And it was crazy, because the person that did pitch, he gave some amazing feedback that we were able to use for our pitch as well, right? But it's beautiful, because that person that pitched on the fly had a chance to repitch it. What was it? 2 weeks later? No, it was a month later.
A month later,
had a chance to repitch it to David again. And I once again chickened out not to pitch something to him that time as well. However, you could tell she learned a lot from the first time, because she killed it the second time.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So Dan, we were just talking about David Metzler a little bit, but I want to get into Les Brown. He's got a huge following. Yes. You have a different knowledge base from what he teaches than others, and you're involved in his ecosystem. So let's talk about what makes Les so amazing, and what are you doing with him, and why do you recommend him to others?
So Les Brown is extraordinary. He's spoken everywhere, actually, all over the world, global. He's got thousands, millions of followers, and he's spoken to over hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. And just I've worked with him for probably, I would say, since March or April of this past year. And he's through the Hungry to Speak team, and he's actually got a new program, an updated program that we can link to, that I actually sent out, and he's just so extraordinary. He teaches you from having your voice, which is most important, is creating your story, having your voice, and that should be the last piece of it that will also in turn create the monetization piece of it. But he's brilliant. Actually, I could probably have him speak to you at some point, and talk about his program, which is extraordinary.
Yeah, we would
So
love it.
I've worked with him for quite some time. Just we've got a lot of things happening actually that I can't really discuss right now, but I'd love to discuss at some point with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you're always welcome to come back on the show. It's not a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Thank
so
you.
no, I think it's great, and it's phenomenal to see everything that you are doing and how you're able to help people. I do definitely want to talk about your on-demand TV space and kind of what you're doing there. If you could kind of enlighten everyone on that.
Yeah, so it's quite extraordinary. I started with them not long ago, actually bridging my mother's show on Discover Your Potential. And Keisha and I, she's the founder of KP Media TV. She and I just hit it off, and we've been exploding the network. It's incredible with so many new incredible hosts that we brought on. JB Owens is one of them, Zen Sams. We've got one of my clients that's been a while, Melissa Billy Clark, and there's just so many extraordinary people that we're bridging onto the network that do film and video. We're in talks with some other incredible folks, actors and actresses that are also interested in jumping on the network. So it's really a great time to do so because we're driving in so much traffic, and it's extraordinary time. And it's Keisha and I always joke like, wow, it's like this is happening so quickly. So it's great. So I'm actually director of brand partnership for the network. So I help bring in sponsorships and partnerships for the network. And like I said, I always talk to them. They're really excited. We're in discussion with many corporations right now who are interested in jumping on the bandwagon as well. And we're also looking to do events, some events that might pop up locally in Rhode Island and Massachusetts that's going to actually, support awareness for medical health, wellness. It's going to be connected to film and acting and performers, and also bridging pets. We just talked about that. So we actually have a couple pet shows that are launching. That's going to be extraordinary. We've got one pet show that's going to be with 9 experts from around the country, and they have certain specialties, and they're going to talk about pets and just so many things that are happening.
Nice.
Very cool. So, quick question, like, us being in the podcasting world and having YouTube out there, I'm definitely a cord cutter from many years ago. I haven't had cable in forever. I have my Amazon Prime TV and my Fire Stick or whatever that I can watch shows on. And so it's like, if I'm going to watch video, I've got YouTube and the social media stuff. And then I've got like through my Fire Stick, but I've never really on purpose, unless I knew somebody, went and watched their show, their talk show or something like this. And it's full length other than being on YouTube. So is everyone going to make this transition, or what do you see as making this transition through just getting these extra shows that is not necessarily on the big networks?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the great thing about KP Media is we're bridging and we're pushing and promoting it to be like a Netflix. It's an independent network, and we've got some really amazing hosts and creators and entrepreneurs on the network that are creating interesting and engaging shows. And that's really what makes us different, because the type of shows that we have, like I said, JB Owen's going to have a show on Ignite. She just wrote a book she just co-wrote a book with Les Brown, actually, called Ignite Hunger. And she's going to be, promoting all of her authors and creators on there. We've got Zen Sams, who actually has a show on WOR and iHeartRadio, but she wanted to also drive traffic and build her network. And that's why she chose, our network to move forward and to drive traffic on as well. So I can see that there's all these different places that people can hear you, whether it's streaming audio or it's podcast or it's YouTube. It's another place, another distribution place where people can find you. And that's the thing. And a lot of people have television sets, and they have access to these,
Right.
pieces. And that's the brilliant part about it. It's like we're curating your content. We're giving you options to find us.
Right.
And if you have all those different areas, it's better.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And what's exciting is you're kind of pioneering this piece where you're helping people get there. You're helping people have this platform. And then do you guys also help them find sponsorships? Do you teach them about that, or how does
Yeah,
that?
the brilliant part about being on this network is once a month she has a mastermind, basically, and she helps creators bridge and grab and find sponsors, and she gives them the solutions on how to do that. Now, myself, I'm doing that for the network level, but I can also help with hosts do it on their show level as well, which is exciting. So we have that option as well. But we really, that's one thing that Keisha saw, that creators are just kind of left to create, right? But they have to figure out all these things. How do you drive traffic? How do you build a social media presence? There's all these things. How do you write show notes? Where do you provide? I know that's what you do for clients, but we actually don't leave our creators in the dark. We actually handhold them and assist them in, with the creation of their show. And we help, how do we drive traffic? We can drive traffic to them through the network, and then we can also help them drive their own. It's pretty amazing. One of our creators has billions of followers. It's extraordinary. So we've got some well-known people on our network. So it's exciting, but it helps our other creators. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's guilt by association, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we have one client that had Richard Wilmore on their show. And so, like, as I looked at your website, I'm like, oh, I know that guy just from associating from someone else.
He's
He's
on
like,
our
"Yeah, I
network.
want to go check out his lifestyle, the stuff that, and so it's super neat. It's a neat concept. And I definitely believe in, the independent act of creating content, right? Is for sure going to be a huge part in the future of any content. And you're not going to rely on these big budgets everywhere. And that's why podcasting is so great, right? Like, that's why podcasting is growing so much. And, this is just the next evolution. And we're already at a point where anybody that's doing a podcast, they're missing out if they're not recording the video for it, right?
Yes.
Like you may use only the main audio right now, but having the video, to have a conversation, right? If you're having any kind of other person on the show, but B, now you can use it anywhere else, right?
Absolutely.
And so, since you've been involved with KP Media, and this, I'm going to relate it back to Hindsight. And obviously on this show, we're all about gaining your hindsight to give our listeners better foresight. But so, as you've seen and met the people that have shows on the platform, as you've seen those that have huge success and those that maybe are still trying to get things off the ground. So in hindsight, just watching with KP Media,
yes,
those that are most successful, what are the things that they're doing that is actually like setting them apart from the others, that you're like, oh, okay, everybody here on this platform needs to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there's actually quite a few things that we do. One is obviously, how do you drive traffic? Well, our creators, the great thing about working with KP Media TV is your content is yours. Obviously, there's a lot of networks out there that unfortunately will own or say they have ownership over your content. Well, all of your content is yours, essentially. So the great thing about is that other creators, this is what I found, other creators have their own followers, but their own followers see, oh, wow, there's a show on here. Oh, wow, there's a show with Zen Sam's. Oh, there's a Melissa Clark show. So we actually are able to drive other shows to other, people's creations per se. So one, I think really is not just so much Yeah, social media is definitely a big part of it, obviously, to drive people to traffic wise, but we've got already built-in traffic, which helps our creators. Two, I would say, I personally, for me, I'm working with Les Brown. Originally, I was working with Les Brown. Well, one, I wanted to meet him. For some reason, I had this really big, I don't know, there was this magnetic force that wanted me to meet with him and just talk to him. But ever since I met with him, it's actually helped me with my own ability to host my own shows and to communicate better and to present better and to speak better. And he's been a big proponent for my own self as an entrepreneur and also as a communicator for this show. And I would just say there's a lot of people on our network that work on their, whether it's using Toastmasters or whether it's using some other way of connecting with people and becoming better speakers. That's another way, because content, I think, is king. And I think that's another key piece and factor for anything, for a podcast or for any show. And I would say that, our content for our show, because I wouldn't be able to hold our audience if we didn't have interesting content. I think that's another huge factor. People don't realize that if you don't have good content, then you're not going to have listeners or engaging content. I would say a third would be that makes us different would be just the way that we are able to support our creators. There's a lot of companies out there that just, we'll push your show out to TV, charge you a lot of money, but they're not going to help creators. They're just going to push it out there. I was just speaking to somebody just the other day who said, oh yeah, I'm on Roku and Amazon. And she's like, but I don't get any listeners. I don't get any viewers. But she doesn't do anything to promote it. And she doesn't actually have the company promote them. That's the other thing. Our network will also help promote you on social media and the like. So that's the great thing. So we're a community. Like with Les Brown, it's a community of amazing people and speakers and individuals. With KP Media TV, we're very much like that. It's a community.
Love it. Oh my gosh. I know there's people out here like, hey, I want to get on TV. How can they get involved with you, and how can they hook up with OnDemand TV?
Absolutely. Well, they can reach me at dgilman@kpmedia.tv. They can email me, and they can also just go to kpmedia.tv, but reach out to me and I can work with them and set them up. The great thing is we can help them, get set up, or with you, they can help get set up.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. One final question, Dan, and this is an important one. You're involved and you listen and you see a lot of shows. You just talked about how we've got to be interesting, engaging, right? Content is king. We just talked about all those. But what's that last piece of advice for anybody that is more of a rookie, that is just starting up, and they've got, maybe they've got a show, maybe they haven't got a show, maybe they've been doing it, but they don't have any growth on it. What's that last piece of advice that you're like, just do these three things, do this one thing, and you'll be able to grow your show consistently?
Yeah, I know a lot of people always bring this up, but don't give up. Just keep you have to be persistent. You can't give up. I remember I started on my mom's show, and she had a big following actually in Rhode Island anyway, but more of a global thing, digital. I started her show and we bridged to over 100,000 listeners. That's on streaming audio. And she was like, well, why can't I get any sponsors? Well, they're not going to come to you. So, there's a whole strategy. That's another reason why I work with Mario Armstrong, who's amazing actually at helping with that. But just, always just keep, don't give up, and it's going to happen. Just things open up for you. People, make sure you meet and network with the right people. David Meltzer always brings that up. You always strive for, and always keep going. And Les Brown always mentions the same thing. That's the beauty of it. So he's touched many lives. So you can as well. Just remember, you have a voice, you have a story. Even if you get 1,000 listeners, imagine this. I always tell this to clients. Imagine trying to get 1,000 people in the Heinz Convention Center in Boston. You'll be paying thousands of dollars to do that.
Yeah.
You can do that easily with a podcast.
Yeah.
Even have a small group of people, 100 people. You've built a tribe. You're building a tribe of people who will listen to you, who are engaged.
Yeah.
So just don't give up.
Love it. Love it. All right, Dan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll talk again soon for sure.
Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, man. All right. So internet issues aside, I don't know if it's going to be in there, if anybody's going to feel it, but if they did, sometimes it happens, right? Technology happens. So if we can edit it all out, you don't hear it, then, I'm speaking for no reason right now.
Right.
Either way, we definitely have a few takeaways, Ron, I'm sure. But Dan he was talking about good people, right?
Yeah.
And people changing the world. And so I know you've got your own takeaways, but just thinking about David Metzler and the impact he makes in the world, and thinking about Les Brown, the impact he makes in the world. It's just like, those are two really incredible individuals. And so it was fun to actually just go and kind of talk about them and their impact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it reminds me of something that ironically I've been talking about. I think you and I have talked about, Rachel and I talked about this morning and last night, keeping your circle of people that you surround yourself with protected, right? So you don't want to have somebody get into that circle that is a negative influence, right? Which then can lead you down a negative path without you even knowing it, right?
Yeah.
So you protect that circle. Then the other one was legacy. He talked about legacy and his mom's legacy. So I'm going to challenge the listeners. What is your current legacy looking like, and what do you want it to be?
That is a good one. Like, that is having a legacy and carrying the torch, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many people out there that you carry a torch from a family business, or, just different things like that. And, the whole podcasting, radio. Did you know that Hindsight HacKing Media Agency, we do all things podcast from launch? If you're already doing 10,000 downloads in a week, we handle everything. All you have to do, record it and forget it.
Guys, if you're launching a podcast, get with these guys. I could not honestly hit the charts without them.
I'm not getting paid for this, but working with both of you, the professionalism and the system that you guys had to launch the podcast, you guys killed it.
We want to help the impactors create an impact by just letting you be you and not worry about all this other crazy stuff. Connect with us. All the links will be in the show notes. See you next time. Go create an impact.